We are waiting for the live stream on YouTube. It's my first time, so I'm a little bit excited. Welcome to my first virtual dialogue on women's economic empowerment. So this webinar I'm live streaming live on YouTube, and I hope as many of you can join me, and please feel free to ask questions on YouTube chat box that is available in front of your screens, or you can also email your questions to me at yusuna.info in case you don't have YouTube accounts. So please feel free, and I hope to receive as many questions and comments you may have. So this virtual dialogue, as I mentioned before, is dedicated to women's economic empowerment, a very important issue in global development discourse and practice. The dialogue will consist of 3 parts. The first part will be dedicated to the key issues that embrace the women's economic empowerment. And then I will introduce my guest, a special guest from India, who is the head of Ashirvad Self-Help Group. And then we will have a session on question and answers, where I hope you can ask as many questions as you want. So first, let me introduce a little bit myself and tell about where I come from and why I'm doing this. So this is my journey so far. I was born in a region called Buryatia, which is a region in southeastern part of Russia, in Siberia, on the border of Mongolia near Lake Baikal. It's the region of indigenous people called Buryats, and it's also one of the largest ethnic minorities in Russia. So this is where I was born and I grew up. This is where I did my schooling. And then I went to St. Petersburg State University to do my bachelor's degree. During my studies in St. Petersburg, I got a scholarship for first master's and then for a PhD at Cambridge University, which I completed in 2010. Then I worked in academia. I worked on migration issues in London School of Economics. I worked as a consultant in the World Bank. And then I got a job first in Geneva at United Nations Research Institute for Social Development. And almost 3 years ago, I moved to New York, where I work as a gender specialist at the United Nations Development Program. And my motivation for having this virtual dialogue actually comes, on the one hand, from my work as a gender specialist, but also from the trip that I had recently to India, where I visited women's self-help groups in Maharashtra state in December last year. And the trip was really inspiring for me, empowering, because I really saw those women working extremely hard, passionate about what they do, doing the best they can, improving their businesses, expanding their businesses to larger market, and to me this is what really women's empowerment is on the ground. So I was so inspired that I wanted to share that experience, and this is what ultimately this virtual dialogue is about. It's about, on the one hand, sharing knowledge and experiences, but also connecting all of us all over the world, and hopefully inspire and empower each other. So I hope this dialogue you will find useful, and as I mentioned before, we will hear the real story of successes and challenges from one of these groups. Now, let me say a few words about what is meant by women's economic empowerment. And in this presentation, I would like to frame women's economic empowerment as about voice, it's about agency, it's about participation in economic decision making. And there are different levels in terms of how this economic decision making is made. And that could be at the individual level, in the family, at the household, in the market, whether it's a formal labor market or informal market, and of course in society. So, and I would like also to mention that this presentation is my personal initiative, so all the views I represent here represent my own views, and whereas I obviously build upon the knowledge that and the research experience that I have. So I would love also to hear from you what economic empowerment means to you and how you see this and what empowers you. So, and there are different pathways to economic empowerment. I think those that I mentioned here are the most straightforward, are the main channels to economic agency. So obviously this is paid employment, this is access to resources, to financial services, to assets. It's about skills development, and there's a range of skills, whether it's marketing, whether it's digital skills, and obviously education. And this is, I would say, as I mentioned, formal channels, and there are a lot of nuances to that in terms of it's important to have a paid employment. It's important to be paid for what you do, but it's also about the quality of work. It's about the working environment in which you work. And it's the same access to resources. It's not just access, it's also control over those resources. And the same about different types of skills, the soft skills, the hard skills, and education as well. It's also about the quality of education and ability to apply your educational skills to the labor market. So on the one hand, yes, there is a supply of the skills of the labor force, but on the other hand, there is also demand, and there should be kind of a balance between the two. Now, this is an issue that I think is so critical and so is fundamental to not only to women's economic empowerment, to gender relations in general. And this is an issue that I think is so close to my heart, and I'm sure it will resonate to many of you. And this is about care and domestic work. And I think over time we can see how much, and this is the work that mainly is performed by women across the world. And in fact, the studies showed by UN Women, and there are more studies across regions, across countries, that show that women perform at least 3 times more of care and domestic work than men, because obviously this is the type of work that traditionally has been performed by women and still the case. So, and by care and domestic work, we mean caring for children, for elderly, for our parents, for people with disabilities. It's also about household activities such as cooking, laundry, and in developing contexts, it's about collecting firewood and water. And what is not so, I think, understood and so recognized that the value of care and domestic work has a huge implications, huge impacts on GDP. And according to various studies, the value, economic value of care and domestic work vary up to 60% to global domestic product. And as I think most of you know, caring after our family, doing all the laundry, cooking is critical to support and maintain the human force. And that human force or human capital in turn is critical to creating goods and services that directly contribute to the economic development. But what I think the challenge that is still so persistent is that type of work, domestic and care work, remains unrecognized, unfortunately, and is often invisible both at the family level, at the societal level, and is still not counted towards the GDP. So why women's economic empowerment is so important? I think the benefits are obvious, and they vary from improved business performance to economic development that I mentioned earlier, and that economic development in turn also is conducive to developing human capital. And there are different studies also that show evidence as to why contributing and enhancing, strengthening women's economic empowerment is so critical. And one of the studies, for instance, including my own, has shown that if you provide, if you achieve equal levels of educational attainment and labor force participation between women and men in the labor market, that could raise global GDP up to like by 3.6% by 2030. And there are many other studies showing the value and giving evidence why investing in women's abilities, women's participation in education, in the labor force is so critical. And as we know, women make critical contributions as entrepreneurs, and we will hear more about one of them today, as employees of companies, as farmers, and as I mentioned before, as in terms of care and domestic work. I just want to check how do you hear me, just to make sure that it's all fine. If you have any issues in terms of the sound, please let me know, and I'll make sure that I will fix it. So please send me some signs on the chat, YouTube chat, to make sure that that you hear me well. So, and I should also mention that this is the first time I'm doing this virtual dialogue. It's an experiment for me, and I hope it will go well, and I hope that so I hear some feedback. Hello. So please let me know if sound is okay and if you hear me, and please I encourage you to send your comments, questions in the chat box. So, and I see that I have several people joining us online, and I welcome everybody who just joined. So let me now go back to my presentation, and to continue where I finished. So I was starting to tell about challenges, and one of those challenges is are related to the gaps, gender gaps across different areas. And what is interesting, what I want to share with you, is the latest findings by the Human Development Report, and I encourage you to read if you have time. It's about inequalities in the 21st century, which has a chapter dedicated to gender inequalities across different dimensions and intersectional across ethnicity, across income, across race, across class, and so on. So, and what I find fascinating and I think insightful from the latest finding of this report is that we have evidence that progress in gender equality has slowed down over the past years. And what is more interesting is that we can see, in fact, faster progress in basic areas. So we have more progress in, for instance, women being able to vote, women as self-employers. So these are all basic areas which are all important, right? And we have more progress for women accessing education, accessing health services, accessing clean energy, if you wish. But what proves to be more challenging, and this is where the progress is slower, and this is where, in fact, the gaps are widening, is in fact the so-called enhanced areas. And this is where women start to become leaders in their areas, whether it's in politics, and here we see examples, whether it's in the labor market, in private sector, in public institutions. So the contrast here is that there is progress and faster progress in basic areas, but once women start to move higher up, they start to face the glass ceiling. And this is where the challenges becomes harder. And the reason behind that, the main reason behind that, is because those enhanced areas, this is where the areas where women become leaders, this is where they start to challenge the power relations that underpin our institutions, our structures, and gender relations. So if you look even at this chart, you will see that from the data that you see that as far as, for instance, contributing family workers or those who have their own account or self-employed, those that are areas important but still nonetheless, I would say, more basic compared to those where you will be in the top 5%, let's say, of CEOs of largest companies in the private sector. Or if you take leadership in the politics, you see that there are many women who are able to vote, but there are very few women who actually are speakers of parliament or even less as heads of governments. So I think this is illustrative, and then encourage you to read that report. And these are the major constraints behind those factors, so behind those challenges and gender gaps. And one of the critical areas, and that is so persistent across cultures and across generations, and I think we're still in that mode where the way we think, the way we work, the way we live is still deeply underpinned by social norms, by often gender stereotypes in terms of our expectations how women and men behave. So in that sense, that's kind of often negative or old-fashioned social norms. They impede that, I think, that mindset and within which you operate, and that affects policies, programs, and attitudes and perceptions. So the second key factor is more at the institution level. It's about discriminatory laws and policies. And we know how many women still don't have access to inheritance, they don't have access to property, they face discrimination at the workplace. So all these issues, they clearly impede progress, and they have detrimental effects on women's economic empowerment and gender equality in general. And the third factor, third constraint that I feel is critical, important here, and something I mentioned before, is about this care and domestic work that is predominantly performed by women, but it often serves as one of the key barriers for them to participate in the labor force on an equal foot as men. And one of the reasons for that is a lack of conducive environment in terms of care facilities, in terms of maternity leaves, in terms of childcare benefits that would be sufficient for the family. And this often affects women's decisions. Sometimes, of course, it's own choice, but sometimes women have to stay at homes because there is no environment, let's say policy environment, institutional, like a childcare facilities, or they simply don't have anybody else where they can confidently and comfortably leave their child and go back to the work. And once they're back to the work, of course, they start to get delay in their progress. And this is where the progress gets to be stuck and slow. At the moment where women are about to grow further, they kind of start to slow down. So in this graph, you will see different dimensions and different key, like I would say, policy issues that are critical to empower women and achieve a more gender equal world, at least from an economic perspective. And this is what I mentioned about reforming discriminatory laws, about reducing unpaid care, about also improving digital services in a more equal way, and changing the culture of business environment and practices. And also, I think it's important also to have positive role models and to have inspiring practices, inspiring women and men, those who will serve as role models. If you take, for instance, fathers who do the childcare, who do the grocery, or do the cooking, this often provides a very good positive practice, positive model for children who see their fathers doing cooking, and for them it becomes a norm. And when they grow up, they're more likely to inherit that type of behavior, and that will in turn contribute, I think, to more harmonious environment within the family. And that environment within the family is in fact critical to how women and men then behave in a more broader societal context. And now, this is to me probably the most exciting part. And let me go back to see how we are doing in terms of the quality. So let me see the YouTube. Okay, good, Sam. I'm so glad you joined. It's some of my friends. So okay, I'm glad that the sound is there. And now, welcome to those who just joined. Thank you for taking time on this beautiful Sunday day to join this webinar. And I do hope you will learn something. And please feel free to contribute your thoughts, your comments, questions. And now, for those who joined, you made it at the perfect time, because now we will have a very exciting guest joining us all the way live from rural India, from Maharashtra state. Let me give a bit of introduction first. So this is the self-help group called Ashirvad. And the idea of self-help group is the idea of women organizing themselves within a small group. It can vary from 5, 10 to 20 people. And it's a very powerful idea, powerful concept that works in practice. And this is why I'm so inspired and excited to tell you about this experience. And you will hear about the head of this group, because when I visited them in India in December, I felt that they are strong, they are very motivated, they work very hard, and they are together. They have this strong social capital. They support each other, and when we're together, we're stronger. And I think that kind of capacity and that kind of joint force that makes them believe in themselves, gives them more confidence, and in fact it has direct economic implications, because they're better positioned to access credit, to open bank account, to receive some trainings. And I will show you some of the photos. So this is you see, lady is Samira, who will speak shortly, and these are the products that they produce. So this Ashirvad Self-Help Group is about food production and food manufacturing, and they have some unique products that you can only buy from them, and you will hear more about from her live. So let me now go back to the Skype, because this is, as I mentioned, this is my first time doing this. I'm experimenting, and I'm texting her on Skype to say that we are ready, and she will call me, and then you will see firsthand and hear that inspiring and empowering experience. Okay. Bear with me 1 second, please. So Samir is calling. I'm connecting. Samira, hi. Let me connect you on live stream. Let me do it this way.
Okay.
Yes. Samira, welcome to the webinar. Welcome to our first virtual dialogue, and thank you for taking your time and sharing with us your experience. I know this is the first time for you as well, and I see you have you are in your workshop room, right? This is where you actually do the work. So before Samida, you start, let me show a video where I visited your self-help group and some of the members where you actually met me back in December. Let me show it to our audience so that they better understand. 1 second. So this is actually the time in December when I visited Ashravat Self-Help Group, and this is a very warm welcoming from Samida and from her members in their workshop room. This is a workshop place where they actually do produce the food products and do the processing. Please enjoy.
ग्रेट
फोटो का ना वीडियो करते
एक मिनट एक फोटो घ्या ना एक.
Okay. Okay, Samida, welcome to the webinar. So I think our audience is very excited to hear your experience about how you created Ashravat, what motivated you, and can you tell us a little bit more about your self-help group?
Namaste. Greetings of the day to everyone. I always love cooking traditional snacks which are made during festivals in India like Diwali, Holi, Ganpati, etc. Since many years, I used to prepare us these traditional snacks and send it across to my relatives and friends. They always appreciate the unique taste of my products, and they encourage me to sell them in the nearby locality. I always had a spark to do new things, and hence I started taking some courses and for cooking and food processing. Uh, with the support of my family members, I decided to turn my passion into business, and taking along with four neighboring housewives, I formed a small group and took my very first order of Puran Police in the year 2007, uh, followed by many more orders and other food products like chakli, chiudas, ladus, etc. Looking at our unique taste and good quality of the product and our dedication to complete the orders in time, uh, uh, we started getting more and more orders from neighbors and nearby locality. We of course needed more helping hands to complete the orders on time, and at the same time, few other housewives are interested and approach us, and as we form a small group of SHG called Ashirwad Self Help Group with 11 members in November 2007. Uh, we have a wide product range of food products like chakli, chiudas, pickles, sweet like laddus, puran polish, shankarpalis, etc. We make different types of pickles, raw haldi pickle, ambe haldi pickle.
Right.
Then this is raw haldi,
Right.
and many more. It has various health benefits, and it seems the raw haldi is rich in antioxidant and antibacterial properties. This is our best selling best selling product because of its unique taste. And there, yeah, we have another types of pickles. This is mango pickle, chili pickle. We have lime pickle, and in non-veg section we have some uh, Bombay duck pickle and prawns pickle, which are again best sellers. Best sellers. And the another best seller is Puran Poli, which is made up of stuffing with mixture of lentil and jaggery, which which is rich in proteins. And this is prepared during holy festivals in India. Uh, Modak laddus is another our most demanding product. Sweet preparing during Ganpati festivals and in Western and South India.
Okay.
It's made up of berry and coconut stuffing covered with steamed rice dough. Coming to the laddus, we have different types of laddus here. Uh, Dry fruits laddu and lentils, mixed pulses laddus are there, and we have another dry fruits laddus, which good in nutritional values and hence very much help to lactating mothers. We are also make chivdas, chaklis, cornflakes chivdas, chaklis, and this is cornflakes chivda and poha chivda like that. But last but not the least, we make Shankarpala in our product.
Okay.
And
Let me show maybe a video, right? One of the videos about the products. I think you have you have a very good video that I would like to share with our audience to see the process actually of making it. Let me show you.
yeah.
So what you just seen that was chakali. Samita, can you show me this packaged chakali so that people can relate the video to this is what right? This is chakali. This is one of your unique products, right?
Yeah.
And then also, I also want to share experience because you also, when I was visiting you, you gave me pickles like to taste, and I brought them to New York. Those very special pickles, you said they have like special nutritional value, right?
Yeah.
And what is it made of, like specifically? What is like? Is it something local, very local?
Yeah. This is raw turmeric.
Turmeric, right?
Yeah. With ginger, we are adding ginger and chili, green chili in it. And mustard seeds we are putting in it. And for its shelf life, increasing for shelf life, we are using vinegar in it.
Right. And I can actually confirm that it's yummy. It's delicious because
Thank
I was pampering myself when I was eating it, and I'd like to show also share that video where you can see the production of. Okay. Um, Samita, let me now turn to some further questions. Can you tell us a little bit more about the market? You know, how you access the market, the clients, maybe like the partners you have, who are your competitors, and how you deal with that competition in your area.
During initial stage of our business, relatives and friends help us to promote our products in a through mouth publicity. And since then, we started getting orders from our friends and relatives and nearby people and local shops. As we required more and more orders, invest we invested in semi-automatic machineries. We purchased a chakli machine, semi-automatic chakli machine, kneading machine, a roller machine, and conveyor belt to make these chaklis and other products. And and that time also that time we built a workshop where we are sitting now just now, and the workshop we took from one of our partner on rental basis. With the use of machinery, production capacity increased. For example, earlier we make chakli per day, 5 or 6 kg chakli per day. After we use machines, we make chaklis around 50 to 55 kg per day. And it's only because of machine. And coming to the marketing our products, our over the time, we have made several contacts through exhibitions and friends and mouth publicity. And where we are also connected with Umed team, which they are helping self-help groups in India. And through them, we got opportunity to join Milap initiatives and FICCI Federation, that is Federation of Indian Chambers of Commerce and Industry. They conducted different types of workshops, training programs, and which help us to gain our confidence and improve our knowledge in manufacturing the products and market our products in better way. Also help us to participate in exhibitions to showcase our products. And when we put up our products in stalls in exhibitions, customers are always show their brand loyalty towards our products, and because of only the unique taste of our products and the quality, we always maintain quality of the product. Then
Right. Samita, let me see YouTube chat and see how the sound is working. See
yeah,
whether we have any questions for now. Um, I see some very active users. I see Nilima also joined us. Um,
yeah.
so, uh, so please feel free to ask questions. I encourage you, if you have any questions, please do so. And in the meantime, let me go back to our Skype conversation. And So I see, Samida, that you actually leverage opportunities that you have. So you try your best to market, advertise. You collaborate with like Milab, with Fiki, and that actually gives you better training and better quality of packaging and gives you better access to the local market, right? And also for those
Yeah.
exhibitions, right? You expand your client base. And then, can you tell maybe a little bit more about the monetary side of your business? What is the revenue you get, the profit, and how much it actually goes down to the income per a member of Safal Group monthly, let's say?
Okay. Our yearly turnover of our SHG is around 18 to 20 lakhs
Right,
in rupees, and it comes around 25,000 to $30,000 per year.
right.
And our earning goes up to 40,000 to 45,000 per month, and that is comes to 550 to $600 in a per month.
Per month.
And each member earns about 3,500 to 4,000 rupees per month. That is 50 to $60 in a month. And I know this income is not enough to run the house,
Mm.
but it contributes the same to some extent in their families.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
So just to make it clear from what I understood is that speaking about monthly income for each
Yeah.
member of self-help group is around 50 to $60 per month,
Yeah.
right? And that is
Yeah.
a part of that they contribute to the household income, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe as a next question, can you actually tell us, obviously, you face certain challenges, right, in the way you work, and can you elaborate a little bit more about what are these challenges and barriers that you have to deal with?
Yes. Yes. Yes, we have to face some challenges as we do not compromise in our product quality. Our production costs are little bit high uh, than competitors. Hence, we are facing some competition in market price.
Mm,
And one of the reason that production cost high is due to fluctuating rates of raw materials.
raw
And
material.
we can overcome these challenges by purchasing raw materials in bulk quantities. But this is only feasible when there is a huge demand for our products. And we also face challenges during the monsoon season when the uh, production of some items is affected because of which because due to moisture
Moisture,
in
right.
in climate, because of which production of the papad spices may get affected little bit. And then thus to overcome these challenges, we are planning to buy a dryer machine in the upcoming years.
Mm, mm,
And, sorry, in order to sell products in reputed market, attractive and better packaging is required uh, for that. And in near future, we are also planning to buy automatic packing machine, uh, which will help us to for show our product in better way. And production and better production and packing technologies and effective marketing strategies, we are aiming to capture the market. Also to meet uh, also to meet high production requirements, I wish to increase production capacity with automation
mm,
in our talking about my uh,
Right. So, from what you said, Samida, I understood that you have a range of constraints or challenges. So, those related on the business side, like business factors, including, for instance, the competition in terms of prices. So, your products are quite high, the quality, and you're not ready to compromise on the quality because you have these unique ingredients. But at the same time, because production is relatively low, you obviously other competitors and food producers, they offer better price. So in that sense, it's I see that business challenge. But also you mentioned about operational issues and like in terms of the equipment you have, and I understand that you still need to kind of buy more equipment, right, to actually deal with the challenges that actually, as you mentioned, come from the climate related issues. So I understood now, like you said, there is more moisture. So like seasons seem to be a bit more, there's more rainy, right? Like more rains. And that obviously affects the food production. And it's interesting because again, from coming from a global perspective and working on gender dimension of climate change, we know that food production is one of the most affected areas of climate change, especially in developing countries. And I think your case study is important actually to show the implication that it has on local food production and entrepreneurship and um, the business side that has direct impacts. So and in terms of moving forward, I think it would be important also to understand. You mentioned about these new technologies that you will integrate. And how about digital services? How about digital platforms? Are you able to use those? And whether other members of self-help groups are able to go online, like whether there is enough sufficient internet access to make it possible?
We are using semi-automatic machines and for kneading dough of various products, and we're using conveyor and roller for dough sheets, and mold for chakli molding machine. We are using machine for that, and also flour flour kneading machine we have. We are now utilizing social platforms like WhatsApp, Facebook, and during festivals, we are sent across product information and offers through WhatsApp. And recently, we have joined Instagram and YouTube channels, and we our 3 to 4 ladies have internet access, and through these internet access.
Right. Okay, and how about in terms of next steps, and I think if we come back to the purpose of this webinar, and I hope that this webinar, even if it's not online, it will still reach further audience and attention from uh, people who would be interested to learn more about your business. And how do you think you would like to learn from their experiences? What do you think would be useful to your business?
Talking about my goals, I wish to spread my wings in reputed market in India and as well as global market through exports. I am glad to share with you that I help 10 ladies at this moment to stand on their own feet and and support their families, and in near future I wish to take a step towards women empowerment to by encouraging more and more housewives to come forward and join us
Right.
and in our venture, and through this webinar we expect the support to increase our sales through online marketing and on positioning and branding as we believe improving online presence in a need of every business and in today's digitalized world.
It's true. That's absolutely true. You resonate strongly with this global debate and on the force of, as we call it, fourth industrial revolution, which embeds this digitalization. And I think
Yeah.
your experience working in rural area and harnessing and leveraging that potential for digital services is critical. So I think this is a great ambition, and I know that you have the strongest and the best motivation for this, because by doing so you empower other women and together you become a joint force that contributes not only to social capital but also contributes to direct like local economy and let alone your families. So
Yeah.
let me come back to our chat and see if any of our audience has any questions. So we can see, for instance, some comments. For instance, Pradeep is mentioning that indeed during monsoon season, the moisture and humidity can reach up to 90% in western sea areas of Maharashtra state. And this is and I also see a comment from Gautam, who actually reassures what you just said, that digital marketing indeed is very useful to promote small businesses. And I think now it's the time to, I think, increasingly go online to advertise, market your services, and go global. So in the meantime, when we're still waiting maybe for some questions, let me now share with you the video that I actually, a part of my thank you speech that I gave while visiting you. Sharing your experience for. Sharing your experience for sharing your passion and your courage, your ambitions. I think it's very inspiring. You know, even like for me coming from New York, I still feel, to me, the main reason coming here was to see how women empower themselves on the ground, and especially rural areas in India. It's much more challenging than in other places like New York, where you have more opportunities, there's better education, and I would say it's better quality of life. But coming here and seeing women working and so much passion and happiness, I feel heartened and impressed. So I think it's very important what you are doing, and I hope you will succeed and you will break the international market. Yeah. And I think there is a demand, you know, because as Milima said, in places like Canada, New York, I see there's like a growing diaspora, Indian diasporas, and there is a demand for like spices, because the food is part of our identity. And we keep that identity across borders, across time. And I think what you are doing is not just about food, it's about preserving your cultural identity. And once you break the international market, you kind of bridge that gap and you nurture generations. So I wish you success in this endeavor.
Thank you.
So welcome back to the studio, and I hope you enjoyed the presentation, you enjoyed the videos, and I see Samida is online. Samida, thank you so much for joining us, for sharing your experience. I'm sure there will be other questions, and I will leave my email, and in the end I will also share the contact details of your self-help group. And maybe I know that you haven't been by yourself. I know Samiksha and Krodanajali helped a lot. Ladies, can you come and say hello? Maybe you've been such a critical part of this webinar. Hi.
Thanks a lot.
Hi. So thank you so much for helping us, for joining, for sharing your experience, inspiring. I'm sure that many people around the world will inspired by your story, and I hope it will trigger more interest and more support to what you do, because I genuinely think what you do is very important. So I hope jointly we will achieve better results and make this world more equal, more inclusive, more fair for everybody. So thank you so much.
To be here and to be a part of this webinar. Thanks to you and all those who have joined us in this webinar. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, now I'm back to my studio. Let me see. Let have a final check if we have any questions here. Yes, I see some advices in terms of how we can connect. And so we will keep this conversation going, and we'll definitely address those questions. And please, I'll show you some contact details that I have here. So so please feel free to send your questions, comments, suggestions to. You can send it directly to me@yusuna.info. You can also connect online through different online platforms. And in the end of the seminar, I will also send the contact details on this YouTube chat box, the contact details of Ashirvad Self-Help Group. So if you have suggestions, comments that you will be able to provide, you can send directly to them. And I hope you can also share your experiences in terms of how they can enter the international market for exporting, how they can connect with Indian communities across the world, and also how they can improve online marketing and their digital presence. So all these issues are critical to make them grow, to make Ashirvad grow. So I hope you can share your advice, suggestions on how we can make it better. And in the meantime, I would also encourage you to share your experiences, your stories with me. If you have some ideas that you would like to share with others, if you have some interesting experiences from your country, from your region, from your local community, please let me know, and I will be happy to bring your voice to this platform. And I hope together we can connect with each other and make it better, make it more positive, make it stronger together. So let's do this together. And I think on this note, I would like to thank everybody for joining me on this Sunday beautiful morning in New York, or elsewhere, I guess, in Europe or in India. So thank you so much. Stay in touch, and I hope that it was useful to you, and I hope to hear from you about your stories, about any questions, comments you may have. Thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of Sunday.